I've been studying the unified field and the phenomenon of accessing energy from it for more than 30 years. And since 1997, I've collaborated with cosmologist and inventor Nassim Haramein. He's probably more aware of the physics of how the universe works than anyone I've ever met, even though he was not traditionally schooled. I've seen him ridiculed and shunned by the traditional academic world, but I've just never seen him proven wrong.
The space between you and I and the space between everything appears to be empty. We call it empty space commonly, but it's not. Space-time at a very specific scale of the Planck length is quantized with spherical units of Planck oscillators, billions of times smaller than the atom. You can think of it as like a fluid that permeates all space. It's a source of the gravitational field, it's a source of the electromagnetic field, it's a source of mass, it's the source of charge. So now we're starting to really understand the mechanics of it at a deeper level.
What is possible is extracting energy from the ubiquium. It's all here, it's right here, that energy is here. We're not violating any second law of thermodynamics.
We believe that the background energy of everything around us is full of power, and in a very, very small area, there's enough power to power our society for thousands of years.
I believe that the new level of physics, the new level of technology that's emerging in the world, that's extracting energy from the fundamental field, are technologies that are finding a way to create a resonance link to this fundamental field. I call the primary technology that I'm developing to achieve gravity control the resonator. It is an instrument that's attempting to achieve high level of resonance coupling to the fundamental quantum field that's at the source of reality.
Though the device is not finished yet, I think that they're working with the most advanced concept for accessing free energy from the unified field that I've ever seen or heard of.
This device is built out of two coils that produces a magnetic field in the geometry of a double torus shape, and then it spins that field in coordinated rotation to create this singularity that hopefully couples to the vacuum, and that's what we believe it does to space-time. Inside the coil is a crystal container, which is spherical, that has plasma in it, and the plasma is forced to rotate with the electromagnetic field structure as we power up the coil. So we're basically making a little star inside a crystal ball. The idea is that eventually we can start the field geometry in the plasma inside the crystal ball and get it rotating, and when it's self-sustaining, open the coil, remove that. That becomes a self-sustaining device that can be running a spaceship or your car or your house while making you healthy. Basically mimic what the universe does when it builds a star or when it builds a galaxy. The next step for humanity, the next step in our evolution, I really believe, is to understand gravity at a deeper level and learn to control it so that we can birth our civilization into a space civilization, into a space colony. We can explore our solar system, we can explore our galaxy, and maybe even beyond. To me, resonance represents the new world that is emerging.
Given how centralized energy can be used to manipulate and control people, and the dangerous and dirty ways corporations are extracting energy, we've been highly motivated to find alternatives. All the promising technologies we heard about were based on a common understanding that not only is everything energy, but that energy is always moving. That movement is called vibration, and frequency is the rate at which it's vibrating. When frequencies match in intensity, we get what's called resonance. We experience it as harmony. It sounds good, and it feels good. According to quantum physics, the field is geometric in design and woven into predictable patterns. It unifies what are traditionally considered separate forces, and the organizing principles apply at every scale. The inventors we met were all operating on the understanding that the vacuum is not empty, and that stillness is not still. It's a dynamic of absolute balanced energy.
When we bring together all the new discoveries and we take into consideration what they're telling us, it strongly suggests the existence of a geometric pattern. So when we see energy moving through this field, the energy is not moving haphazardly. It is following preferred pathways defined by the geometry of the field itself.
Geometry is not just points, lines, and planes like I learned in school. It's about the push-pull relationship of energetic systems, like the pull between the Earth and the Sun, gravity, and the push out from the Sun, radiation. Pushing and pulling are essentially geometric phenomena, and lines and planes are just our conceptual representations of those dynamics. It's the predictability of this push and pull dynamic that allows the inventors to create replicable technologies. The geometry is all based on energy moving, and the shape of that movement is the torus. All of the projects reporting the best results were toroidal in design. This is because the torus is the basic pattern that energy takes throughout the entire cosmos. The torus looks like a donut. The energy flows in through one end, circulates around the center, and exits out the other end. Like a whirlpool in a stream. It's made from the medium in which it exists and is at the same time discrete within it. It's both distinct and unified, and demonstrates why something could appear separate from something else and from the field while still being connected to it. It's self-sustaining at every scale. Picture the eye of a hurricane. At the center of every torus is a point of stillness. The field is basically a sea of toruses, each one touching its 12 identical neighbors, like a stack of oranges. Connecting the center, or still point, of each torus with its nearest neighbors reveals equal non-physical lines of force, or vectors. It's what visionary inventor and futurist Buckminster Fuller called the vector equilibrium. When this balanced state of equilibrium is extended without boundaries, it reveals that infinite fabric of space-time that Fuller called the IVM, or the isotropic vector matrix. It just means the same in all directions. This is the web of life force that the inventors say is the source of the energy that they're tapping. Life as we know it arises through contraction and expansion. pulling and pushing. It finds stability in symmetries. Sixfold, fivefold, fourfold, threefold. This pulsation of energy is what Bucky Fuller called the jitterbug, the dance of the cosmos. Fuller humbly noted on his poster that this dynamic may come to be identified as the unified field.
So what is the unified field unifying? This is what Einstein was seeking until the day he died. He was looking for the unifying insight that reconciles the four supposedly separate forces in the universe: electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces, and gravity. According to emerging unified field theory, the dynamic of the torus provides this reconciliation.
Electricity and magnetism used to be seen as separate forces, and we now know they're part of one dynamic called electromagnetism. Understanding this unification was what enabled Michael Faraday to invent the electric motor.
What if gravity and the strong and weak forces are not separate, but are also part of the toroidal dynamic? What new technologies can emerge from that understanding? Nassim Haramein has postulated that gravity and the strong and weak nuclear forces are dynamics of how energy moves in the toroidal flow. In this light, gravity is a function of a whole field of infinitesimal spinning toruses being drawn towards larger concentrations of toruses that make up larger masses, as the moon is pulled to the Earth and the Earth is drawn to the sun. Haramein suggests protons are really mini black holes whose spin creates attraction between them, despite the repulsion we would expect from their positive charge. This attraction is what is referred to as the strong force. From this perspective, what's referred to as the weak force is the result of the natural fluctuations of the nucleus, emanating waves into the field. Unifying the four forces reminds me of the fabled blind men holding on to different parts of the elephant and describing it as a rope or a tree or a snake. The elephant in this case is the toroidal energy dynamic of the unified field. Using the smallest measure, a single wave of light he calls the Planck spherical unit, and postulating that its form is toroidal, Haramein predicted that this dynamic is operating at every scale. By applying this hypothesis, he was able to determine the mass of all the elements and predicted the radius of protons and electrons, while also showing this understanding of the spin of the unified field as the source of mass, gravity, charge, and many physical constants. All of this with unprecedented accuracy.
Why does the proton matter? The proton is matter. Everything we see in our reality is what we call matter. If we understand the proton, then most likely that understanding will be correct at larger scale, and that's what we're finding. So it really tells us about our reality and how it got here and how it works.
Haramein developed a new scaling law showing the toroidal shape of systems throughout the universe. His work correlates with the notion of a grand, nested hierarchy. There is one pattern at all scales, from Planck spherical units, within protons, within atoms, to molecules, within cells, organisms, within planets, solar systems within galaxies, within a vast field of galactic clusters. When Italian astronomers were searching to see if there was a predictable pattern to how galaxies cluster, they found what they call the egg carton universe. This pattern is identical to what we are discovering at all scales as the fabric of space-time.
The way to access this source field of energy appears to be through stillness, sometimes called the 0 point. Stillness is not static. It's a state of harmonic resonance, a rhythmic, balanced interchange of energy. With energy frequencies, the state of complete balance functions like a straw. It intersects with the stillness at the center of each torus in the field, tapping into its pure potential. Stillness is a portal for accessing boundless electricity, developing healing technologies, expanding consciousness, or simply finding peace of mind. Energy moving creates sound, only some of which is in our human range of hearing. The unified field theory proposes that sound waves at different frequencies are what shape energy from the field into matter. We can see this phenomenon unfold in nature when sound waves interact with any form of matter, for example, fluid or sand. Acoustic pressure reliably creates specific, predictable patterns.
In fact, music seems to be the master key to understanding the unified field. Life is an acoustic reality, a sea of sound waves, and what we call music is how it's organized. Music is not something that people created. It's something that we discovered to work with because it already existed in the universe.
Every planet has a unique audio signature. There's a beautiful recording of the sound of the magnetic field of our Earth being strummed like the strings of a guitar by the solar wind that is coming from our sun. And when NASA took the satellite recordings and they bumped it into the audible range, it became possible for us to actually hear the song of Earth's magnetic fields.
Energy waves at all scales follow the same harmonic principles as music: octaves, intervals, and tuning. Tuning is when two or more frequencies come into harmonic resonance. Tuning a guitar uses the same principles as the inventors are using to create health and energy technologies. They all spoke of tuning their devices to achieve a state of perfect balance. Tuning ourselves to resonate with how the universe works gives us a way to come into harmony with one another and with our planetary home.
Music literally is the universal language. Universe. One song. The insight that the cosmos unfolds with predictable order provides a revolutionary context for reality itself. Elegant, mathematical, harmonious, like a symphony. There's a saying that someone with good health wants many things, and someone who's sick wants just one. Being healthy is not just a personal prerequisite, as became painfully clear with the pandemic-induced collapse of 2020. It's the fulcrum for the economy of communities, countries, the whole world. Along with energy inventors, we were contacted by doctors and healers who reported phenomenal results using energy in the form of sound and light waves to promote healing. According to quantum physics, sound waves are what shape matter. Our bodies are matter, so it makes sense that sound frequencies could also impact us. I traveled the world investigating how these new insights into vibration, frequency, and resonance are transforming our understanding of biology and health.